Norm, that's great. Let's talk a little bit more about COVID. How has it affected your recruiting? Because obviously, there's players that have the additional year to return based on COVID. What's the future look like? What's the outlook?
Really good question, Jim. So to start, I think it's important to kind of go back, and this happened with me, and I'm not sure if it happened in other places, but um, in our COVID year when it happened, and our first years were sent home in March. This would be March 2020. Um, we've found that there was that had an impact on those players and just their overall experience, because it takes a year as a first year, you know. And it's so funny, like a college may not click for you until May of your first year. You might all of a sudden, that professor is like, oh wow, and or that you might have that friend group that you were searching for, or you
Right.
might have just gotten stronger, through the course of the year, to understand what it's going to take to be successful at college. Everyone that plays in our college rosters, almost, they're all captains on their high school team. They're all starters on their club team. They're all likely playing on their highest club team. And they're all going to college to be successful because they were successful in high school. So you're getting the best of the best,
Yeah.
even at Division three.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, Division one is supersonic. Um, and we have one player in our 30-year history, and that's Katie Sheffer, that's left the Southeast District and like gone on to almost be, oh, it's been a pro and been on the cusp of the
Yeah.
national team.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do, and we
Mhm.
don't give our students and our student athletes enough credit for just being part of a college roster. It's an incredible
Mhm.
accomplishment.
Sure.
But the ego and the psychology and the confidence that comes with that takes an amazing amount of growth, challenge, pressure, failure, and patience. And our group in COVID didn't get that full year. Um, that said, the group that's about to become my seniors came in the fall of 2020. They came to Connecticut College with all the COVID restrictions.
Hmm.
That's the backbone of our program right now. They have
Yeah.
been through it all. They came to Connecticut College because they wanted to. They came to practice every day because they got to. And they're an incredible group. There are 8 of them. I give them a ton of credit. And then they are joined by Maya Johnson, who will now take her COVID year. Um, so
Oh,
so we're
okay.
really excited about that.
That's awesome.
And Morgan is part of that. Morgan is part of that
Yes.
junior class. So, that speaks to
Yes.
Morgan's character, and everyone's character. So I'm just immensely proud of that group. And it's also the group I've coached the most.
Yeah.
We used every one of the 114 days to coach them. We had a great 2021 season. We had a really good 2022 season. It's just the margins are just razor
Yes.
thin.
Yeah.
And I speak to that class and that group of players because of COVID. Without COVID, we
Mhm.
don't have that group that's so special.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
good and bad, what time tell. But
Right.
ultimately, at the end of the day, this is about to end because everyone's graduating out of this at this point. Um,
Yeah.
but but our roster actually, it we try to stay at 30 or under,
Hmm.
because it's just hard to keep that many people happy, and everyone
Right.
knows that. It's okay.
Right. Yep.
And COVID has made me ask tougher questions. It's made me want to look a little harder,
Hmm.
at character and understanding how lucky we are to play the beautiful game. So we talk
Yeah.
again a lot in our culture and our team ethos about, we want to bring that attitude, energy, and effort, and you got to love what you do. And you got to want to make it happen. So we have a great group of leaders that have been through COVID to pass that on to players, and
Yeah.
it's an exciting time to be part of Connecticut College and our women's soccer
Yeah.
program.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, Morgan's just a different mindset. I mean, I always called her my little soccer junkie. whenever she comes home and is looking to do a workout, she's always reaching out to do something. And it's great to hear that Maya's coming back for another year. I thought I wasn't aware. I thought I watched Maya for the last time in this past season, so I'm excited. I'll be around for Morgan's senior year to watch her play, and so I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next year. So just want to move on to I think we talked about this already, the recruiting time frame. So I think we can move past that. But talk more about what your expectations for your incoming freshmen in preparation for their first college season, and then what is your expectation for returning upperclassmen? What do you want them? How do you want them to arrive?
I think the first part, we touched on this a little bit too, is the first year experience. It is so exciting, but so challenging as well. And we talk a lot about this in our culture with our team, and is that we each have to run our own race. And comparing your race to Maya Johnson or to Morgan, you're going to lose the race, but if you can run the best race that you can run, day in and day out, week in and week out through that season, you're going to push your teammate to run a great race too. If you're always running your best race, you're going to keep improving. And it's a process. There are very few college ready players at Division III that play for me. We have a couple that came in as first years and played. Alexa Wiener is one of them. So she was all conference as a center back for us.
Yeah.
But there's very few that are ready. It is hard.
Yeah.
And the families and the players and their support groups need to understand that challenge, because I get this a lot at Division III. Oh, well, she could have played at Division I or Division II. That doesn't matter. Like, she's just, she's not ready to play in the NESCAC for Connecticut College. Or she played at this great club at this high level. Sure. But everyone that plays for me is that player, But Morgan and Maya have been in a weight room for 3 years, 4 years. They've been training with college level players for 3 or 4 years. They've been competing in the NESCAC for 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
It is no joke, and it is not easy. And that mindset is really, really critical, and really, really important. And that's really hard. And I think that everyone just needs to understand that there's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be some type of transition to the college game, and it may be a couple of years. So here's my great story. Morgan came in and played pretty much right away for us, and so did Maya. But the storyline here is one of her teammates in that junior class came in and worked her socks off as a first year, had a role. And as a sophomore, worked her socks off again and had a role. But there was that crossroads that she was at. She didn't play a ton. She wasn't a real factor in there. She was probably the last player to play in the games. Not the last player in the roster, but the last player. Like, if we played 20, she was the 20th player. She worked, bought in, listened, was coachable, grew up, lifted weights, was a good teammate, ate well, slept well, went to class, did all those things. She started almost every game for us as a junior. She was probably one of our most impactful players. And it's one of those stories that if you don't have that type of commitment and that type of mental toughness that Lauren brought each day, we don't have the season we have. She doesn't have the season she has. We're not the team we are. Lauren makes that happen because of her mental toughness and her commitment to team and understanding that there is a process and a race to run. And that's what our first years need to know, but that's what we expect from our upperclassmen, that they got to put the time in. And that's a great story, because that doesn't happen often.
Yeah. No, there's a lot to be said for experience. I heard a great quote that, people trust experience because people that have experiences know what it's like to operate in stormy waters. People that don't have experience have only operated in calm waters. And that's the big difference between players with no experience and players with experience. Those players know how to operate through the course of a full season. Where younger players come in, they they're great in preseason, great in the first month of the season. Then classes start overwhelming them. Then everything else starts overflowing them, and that's where experienced players really know how to navigate through those stormy waters. It's such a great perspective on things, and we all have our Lauren players that we respect a lot for what they've done, and it's always great to hear about players like that. So tell us what a typical day or a week looks like for a student athlete in the season, and maybe what a typical year, because obviously there is a misconception about D3, but I know NASCAC is different from majority of pretty much all the other D3 programs or conferences out there.
Yeah. For Dana, like not to simplify this, but it's very much like your high school season.
Mm-hmm.
You have a day off a week. Typically for us, it's a Sunday. In college, we will train Monday, Tuesday, typically a game Wednesday. We might have a full week of training sometimes. Thursday, kind of recover and start to focus. Friday, prep. Saturday, game. And then against that Sunday's the off day. We lift weights on Monday and Thursdays typically.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that is catered towards our season, but in an important piece to what we do. But what you're going to get though in a college season is the 2-hour training block, but then there's the scout, then there's the film breakdown. So our blocks are typically 3 hours because there is, again, a scout work that we have to do. There's film work that we
Sure.
have to
Yep.
do. And you may have some weight room stuff in there as well. But we try to be efficient and respectful of everyone's time. And again, we talked about that energy, attitude, and effort. And if I'm a jerk and asking way too much, then it's hard to keep that energy up. So I know that
Yeah.
the schedule is important.
Sure. What about the full year? What does the full year
The
look
full
like?
year, yeah. So if you would just start it, you graduate from high school, you're excited. First thing you're getting is our strength and conditioning stuff. We have a strength and conditioning coach. There are 2 coaches full time for us. Incredible part of the program, and you're going to get into it right away. And then our players, typically, we start to reach out right away with Zooms and accountability partners. So they're doing the summer workouts together. We're asking that they typically stay with their club team or try to find a summer league. And then you get into preseason. The season is the season. It typically ends right now for Division 3, 2, and 1. This is the final weekend. So ideally, you want to start in the middle of August and get to early December. And if you've done that, you've been pretty successful. But typically, not everyone does that. So you go home for Thanksgiving, and we get back now. We're started in a new weight phase. We'll have some kick arounds with our captains. You go to January. January is a long 5 weeks, and you get back in the end of January and you start your weight program again. The NESCAC is I'm just going to keep it. We're missing the boat on some of this. We do not have access to train like the rest of Division 3, and for the last 2 years we did, we had great experience with that. So I'm hoping they're going to see the light and make that happen. But right now, it's a lot of player run stuff. We do have our strength coaches involved, but the players meet on their own and do some things in and around, different schedules that they create. I'm around and they see me daily, but I'm limited to what I can do on the pitch.
So normal D3 though, you're allowed so many training hours in the spring, and is it 1 competitive or 2 competitive dates?
It's 1 competitive date, and right now, and they're talking about changing this, but right now it's a 5-week block, typically in the second part of the spring after spring break, and you meet 3 days a week. So 15 practice opportunities over 5 weeks and a play date.
That's not bad.
We did that last year and had a great experience with it. And that's a reason, example, why it was someone like a Lauren has a story.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great story to tell.
Sure.
And it's great. I mean, I love the best part of my day is coaching my players,
Yeah.
So I want to be able to do that. But Division 3, we do just as much. Sorry, take that back. We do everything Division 1 and Division 2 does, just not as much.
Right. No, well, hopefully NASCAC gets on board and looks at the the realistic view that these kids are still athletes that want the opportunity to train and play. That's why they're still playing at this level. So, I think we talked earlier about the advantage of being a D3 athlete. The social aspect, as well as the opportunities you said earlier about the players that you have going overseas to study abroad for a semester, which is a fantastic experience. Is there anything that we left out?
No, so one of my players is going to graduate, Jackie Puda. Just an amazing job. She works in a career service office. She so she has a job doing that. She's just active on campus. She was one of our captains. It's the full experience. It's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
classroom. It's the double major. It's the debate. It's living in the dorms with
Hmm.
just normal students.
Yeah,
So
sure.
one of our players, ends up living with someone who's a dance major. Now she went to a dance performance the other day. It's like, oh my, this was amazing. It's just, and a lot of times Division 1, you get put there and very regimented, and you can't take the classes you kind of want, and
Right.
you have freedoms that freedom allows you to expand, and have experiences that make you, I think, a well-rounded person, being able to
Right.
communicate, right, deal with different things, deal with different people, and yet play the game you love. And I just
Yeah.
think that that well-roundedness is really what liberal arts is about, what Division 3 is about.
Right.
And and I just think that actually it gives you a chance to actually stay pro in the sport that you love, because you might be a CEO. You might be
Yeah.
writing the yeah, I don't know, the formula or the contract for somebody. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that can happen from it.
Well, if you decide to take that dance class, please let us know, and I expect to see the video of
Or you can take my fishing class, because I
it.
teach 4 different classes. So rock climbing or fishing might be one of them.
Okay, I'll keep that. So talk to us a little bit about admission standards. Obviously Cotton College being an ASCAC school, admission standards are going to be challenging. Tell us a little bit about the admission standards for
Sure,
Cotton College, but
sure.
maybe a little bit for the standard NASCAR school or D3
Yep.
expectations.
D3, typically, AP courses, honors courses, you want to be challenging yourself. But in Connecticut College, we're getting a pretty high level student athlete, but it's okay to not be perfect. We rather see you working hard for, in a class in over 3 years, in 3 hours in a classroom on an SAT Saturday. So we do take test scores of 1350 or 29 on an ACT, but we also are test optional. It is really your curriculum that we care most about. And that curriculum, again, challenge yourself in the classroom,
Hmm.
with, biology and sciences or maths and APs, if you can, or honors classes. If you're doing that, that's going to pretty much give a lot of people an opportunity to be able to look at a Connecticut college.
Sure.
Understand, I just think the balance and your experience is important. And I think it's important that you get there and tell your story. Everyone has a story. And you got to be part of the process and enjoy your day to day as young adults. And get there and visit. Once you get to a place and visit, I think that will really be a critical piece to
Yeah.
when soccer becomes an important factor. Um, I don't want to. I'll stop there. See what you have
Okay.
next.
Yeah, no, I think I talk to players all the time, and an A in a general class versus an A in an AP or an honors class, it's a big difference, and that's what a lot of people don't understand is that that's going to play a factor in the admissions process at any school. Tell us about your balance with your academics and athletics for your student athletes.
Use your 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. academic day. Kind of look at that as your work day. You have a lot more time in college than you think. You're not in school all day, and you don't have to carry that 50-pound backpack around. You might only be in class. You might only have 2 classes on a Monday and a Wednesday, and 2 on a Tuesday, Thursday. You got to use your 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. time accordingly and properly. And yes, we have academic support. There's an ARC Center,
There you go.
Academic Resource Center, and that. But typically, the students we get, and typically a lot of our club players that we get on the female side, are very organized, good academics. You can't play club soccer and not be organized and a good student typically. So a lot of times you're able to be college ready. It's just your discipline throughout your course of your day, getting to class and making sure you do ask for help before it's too late.
That's great. And then I think we talked about this already. Financial aid or academic aid is available for all student athletes. You just have to make sure that you're doing the research, looking into what's available.
Mhm. So two things, Jim. Families, they may not like what they get or see on their federal tax
Mhm.
returns. But if Connecticut College and most colleges have federal financial aid, um, and it takes going through the FAFSA forms and making sure you sign up to get financial aid, and that's a little tedious for the families, but it is worth it because we will meet your financial aid. We'll meet your demonstrated financial need. Um, we also provide academic money, merit money. So that's where I said before,
Yeah,
books more than boots. A lot, and many colleges do. There's a lot of academic merit money scholarships out there, um, that are available to make colleges affordable for families. And so you have to go through the process, and it starts early. And when I say early, it just starts, that kind of summer, but as you go kind of spring year, junior year, start to
yeah,
get that stuff organized. And if you go through that process, you'll find out oftentimes it is affordable. You know, and then you can kind of, look at that. And then once you kind of get into the schools, things are affordable, that's when soccer really becomes important. Um,
sure.
and uh,
Yeah,
and a lot of players are playing at Division 3, Division 2, and Division 1 level because colleges are affordable. So make that happen. Take the time to look into it, and then also look locally. Every town has some type of scholarship. There's
yeah,
so many
yeah,
scholarship monies out there. Even your club might even have stuff, or your
right.
district.
Yeah,
Students and families need to be resourceful and look around to see what scholarships are out there.
yeah,
Every little bit helps. And then don't ignore the financial aid that's on campus with student work jobs. And a lot of times these are
yeah.
great programs for students to work on campus, get homework done, sit at a desk and monitor the athletic center, weight room, and get some and get kind of academic work done while they're getting paid. That you can do
Yeah,
all
we
three.
yeah, I always try to tell people, the federal financial aid, you can go on and there's a calculator there. As long as you have your W-2, you can fill out the calculator, figure out what would I qualify. But it's for that in that moment, that can change over the course of time if any of your financials change. So we try to tell people, go in, see what's there for you early on, and it's a guesstimator, but it's a nice way to start. So um, Norm, this has been fantastic as always. It's great to speak with you. I always enjoy our conversations, and Con College is a great fit for any student athlete, and what you've done there has been fantastic. And I wish you the best of luck. I look forward to watching you guys play in the future, and thanks so much for your time on this.
You bet, Jim. It's been my pleasure. Great to talk to you, and thanks for everything.
Thanks, Norm. Appreciate everything. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.